Hey guys, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about your Lord and Savior, MIDI, but more specifically, the iPad.
But first, check this out. So I wanted to put together this video to talk a little bit about something I've been working on, and that's wireless control of the Kaossilator and Kaoss Pad. I'm not going to get into what the Kaossilator and Kaoss Pad can do. You're probably pretty familiar. These are some awesome synthesizer units, and the Kaoss Pad's more of an effects controller, but it does have some synth sounds in it. And they're pretty cool in and of themselves. They have the XY pad functionality. Kaossilator has 250 different sound banks, and the Kaoss Pad has, probably as many different effects. But what's cool is the ability to externally control them. You can actually set up in each of them external control, and then that way you can control them through something else. And when you have it set up in external control mode, you can actually control them traditionally, which is, touching the pads. And so what I've done here in the iPad is I've actually created a way to control the devices while still being able to control it traditionally. Plus of being able to do that is you could put several different iPads in front of different band members on stage and be able to control the same unit from wherever they're at. I could control it from where I'm at the traditional way. It's kind of tricky to get to this point to be able to control those wirelessly, and how I'm doing it is by using a program from Liine called Lemur. It's basically a blank MIDI canvas that you can program in any which way that you want. Pretty much everything, any type of MIDI command or message can be programmed in here. You can even program out the system exclusive messages through here, and you can do different scripts and some really incredible things. Not only is it MIDI, it's also OSC, but we're here to talk about MIDI. What I've done here is I've created a piano roll to control. I've also put like a traditional XY pad in here. I put in all the sound banks so you can select all the sound banks. Basically anything that can be controlled MIDI when it is not in external control mode, I have programmed into the iPad. And so part of this is it's going through the Mio 10 by iConnectivity, which is a rack mount 1-unit piece. It's a MIDI awesome hub of awesomeness. It's just dripping with MIDI awesomeness, and it is a central rig or a central part of my rig. And there's another video talking about everything that it does in my rig. What I'm going to talk about here is a little bit more about the Wi-Fi wireless Ethernet capability. In addition to its traditional 5-pin MIDI in and outputs, it also has several USB MIDI connectivities, and then it also has an Ethernet port for connectivity so that you can hook up multiple computers to it, or in my case I have a router sending up a Wi-Fi signal. So my bass rig has Wi-Fi. That's pretty cool. It does other things. Helps out with my light show I have set up here going through the Wi-Fi. But with the Wi-Fi and the router connected into the Mio 10, there's actually a separate app on the iPad so that you can connect to the Mio 10, so any MIDI signals are being picked up. And that's something that you can go into the software that iConnectivity has, and you can change the routing and the connectivity and the filtering and the channel mapping and like all this awesome stuff. You should check out the there's two different programs for the Mio hardware setting up. And so part of it is the Kaossilator doesn't respond to note messages, so you can't just plug in a traditional MIDI keyboard and play it. There are some videos out there that show how to do that, but in normal setup, the XY pad doesn't respond to note messages. It responds to control change messages. And there's 2 octaves in it. So what I did is I split the 2 octaves between 128 MIDI messages and created a piano roll. I have a chromatic keys for 2 octaves, and then I also have several of the different modes programmed in here. I think the Kaossilator has a lot more modes than I actually have in the iPad, but it's pretty cool. So you have your traditional have your different notes, and then you can actually I have it in here so that the y-axis is controlling the effect of that sound, and then the x-axis is controlling the different note. So I'm able to do that all in here. I also have a traditional setup with the pads, the XY, so you can do that control. You can switch through all the 250 different sound banks. I even have a drum pad set up here. Let's choose the little drums. Let's see where the drums are. One thing that's important to mention is it's still monophonic, so even though it looks like you could potentially do chords with a piano roll, it's still monophonic, so you're only going to get one note. And that's true to the traditional way it's set up. It's, you know, just wherever one finger's touching. One thing that I haven't been able to figure out, and I'm not sure if you can do, is recording a loop. So unfortunately I couldn't record a loop from the iPad and then keep layering over it. That would involve some specific you know, actual hands-on. And that's not to say I couldn't bring in another MIDI device that does allow me to program that record function and then plug it in. In fact, I have everything running into the Kaoss Pad on this setup, which is kind of cool. And I could actually program this in much of the same way to control the System 1 or the TB3. And actually, if I have the different settings set up for the Mio 10 and the routing and everything, I could actually use this to control everything in my rig. So a lot of the source audio pedals that I have different MIDI implementation, so you can control different effects on and off with different MIDI notes, as well as the Boss SY300. So that kind of opens up if I'm playing bass or another instrument and I can't use my hands to get over here to do different stuff, I could put this on my pedal board and kind of use it as a different kind of MIDI controller. I could set up the XY pad and be able to play the Kaossilator, Kaoss Pad, or I could even set up different parameters on here and control the source audio pedals or the SY300 effects, and that's really pretty cool. I'm sure that I'm probably missing a lot here. This did take a little bit of effort to figure out some stuff, but you know, I'm happy with the way it works out. you know?
Thank you for coming. And I'd like to take a minute to thank our Lord and Savior